Hopeful. That's how attorney John Bostwick's describing the mood for members of the Retail Grocers Association heading into a meeting with the government. Tomorrow's meeting's taking place with the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association, reaching an agreement described as a win-win by Economic Affairs Minister Michael Halkitis as the backdrop.
That has always been the desire, to find a compromise that is livable for the grocers and the wholesalers while being very beneficial for the Bahamian public and meeting the government's objectives.
Now, last month, Prime Minister Philip Davis, during a televised national address, announced that the government has added 38 items to be subject to price controls in the country. Bahamas Retail Association President Philip Benevy subsequently warned that this decision could cut deep into profit margins, adding that some may not last the 6-month trial period.
Grocers and the wholesalers have made suggestions that the government is looking at, and they are grateful that the government has entered this consultation, and they're grateful that the government is, in fact, giving their suggestions due consideration. So we are hoping that, as was the case with the Pharmaceutical Association, whom I also represented, that the government would concede to revise the list and come to an agreed position that is livable for all parties. The grocers have offered an expanded list to the government for their consideration for items to be added to the price control basket.
Now, last week we saw private pharmacies across the country close their doors due to the government's failure to respond to the Pharmaceutical Association's concerns, or resolved it for that matter, and asks if we can possibly see grocery stores closing their doors. Bostwick says this.
As the government says that there are many tools in the tools kit, but there is absolutely no desire to even give the same any deep consideration or thought. So, of course, there are other steps. But, if you're sitting at a board, at a chessboard, you're not going to discuss your next 10 moves.
The government has also faced criticisms for its lack of broad consultation in making decisions like this. To that, Bostwick spoke to the Davis administration's style of governance in this regard.
It is sadly been the practice of governance that there has been a lack of broad consultation. And what could be said for the Davis administration is that where they were guilty of having not consulted, they have made every effort to correct that position. And so they did enter a period of consultation with the Pharmaceutical Association, with the Grocers Association, and with the Wholesalers Association. Can we say that consultation could have happened beforehand and potentially avoided all of the last couple of weeks of wrestling? Yes, most potentially. But the fact that they have consented to have the consultation and did not attempt to be heavy-handed and force the implementation and levy fines and all the rest of it, I think that's to be commended as well.
Leah Cooper, Eyewitness News.